Welcome to a new series of videos I plan on doing here. This is going to be weekly, monthly dividend updates off my dividend producing investments. Those investments could be covered call funds, BDCs, closed end funds, dividend producing ETFs, real estate investment trust, preferred stocks, or income funds, or just a variety of things. I think most things fall into one of those categories there. So let's take a look and see what's happening here. This would be for the month of August. I'll start doing this weekly starting here in September, but I want to go back and catch an entire month's worth of dividends and see where things are at. And we'll look at what percent I have in some of the investments. So I think I should probably say that I'm not a professional. I've gotten to this point in life by making my own decisions and doing my own things. Some people think I've made some poor decisions, but they've turned out to be pretty good. If you watch these videos and you enjoy them, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe and turn on the notifications and all that good stuff. So the first thing I want to look at is Blossom. I've been a member for I don't know how long, but I post some of these financial things on Facebook and nobody seems to care. It's not that they don't care, it's just the audience is more interested in politics and fighting and different things. And I try to share some of the things I've learned about investing and what's going on, but Facebook doesn't seem to be the right platform for that. So I joined Blossom to share some of the things my wife and I are doing. And so I'm relatively new to it, but I seem to be enjoying it so far. So you see what I have invested here. Half of our investments are in growth still. I am retired, but I'm able to pretty much do what I need to do with only half my investments in dividend type income producing shares. We still have about 50% or more of our investments in things like the SPYI and QQQ. Let's expand that out and see what we got here. 33% is in SPY, 15% in QQQ, so that's almost 50%. SPMO is another growth type fund, and also VTI. We got about 3% in SPMO and 2.1% in VTI, which is the Vanguard total stock. Basically, I think it's like 4,000 different companies in that index. And SPMO is accelerated growth type of fund that is based on the S&P 500. So you can read more about these funds if you want by Googling them. Anyhow, if you go down, we have some QDTE. Most of this is in my Robinhood account that I'm using to generate some money, the money that I would have kept into a rental house. Got a whole series of videos on that. So that's QDTE. So my favorite covered call fund is QQQI. And my second favorite is SPYI. These are both from the company called NEOS and EOS. We have about 4% of our total investment in QQQI and about 3% in SPYI. These will grow a little bit. This is where I'm putting additional money as we move along. I have FEPI, got 3% in there. GPIQ, so this is probably my third favorite cover call fund, along with GPIX. We have about 2% in XPay. We talked about VTI. This is split up between half of this is for growth and half of it is income. So VTI is growth. AIPI, for example, is income. We have MAGY, we have GIX, JEPQ, which is very popular, been around for a while. So that's one of my top 10 favorite cover call funds. I mentioned GPIX as being a top 10. IYRI is another top 10 favorite. JEPI is probably top 10 favorite, although some of these other ones are outperforming it quite well, like GPIX. So I still have money in JEPI, and I probably still will. I probably won't add any more to it, but just keep what I got. Then we have QQQM. So QQQM is basically the same as QQQ, but the expenses are lower, which some people will say, if the expenses are lower, why don't you just have all your money in QQQM? That's a good question. The answer is because I do sometimes write covered calls on SPYI and QQQ. I think I posted something in Blossom why I do that, not why I write cover calls, but why I use QQQ and SPYI instead of QQQM. You might see some things that look like duplicates because we have 4 or 5 different accounts. And so we have some of the same funds in different accounts. So we have QQQ in one account and then QQQM in another. And then we have FSCO, ARCC, ASGI, Q, Devo, PDI, iDevo, QQT, SPYI. These are sister funds that pay 20%, but the NAV has decreased a little bit. But total return is still doing quite well. I have a little bit of ULTY, which everybody either loves or hates, BDC, WDI, OMAH, which is Berkshire Hathaway type of ETF. It mimics Berkshire Hathaway with a cover call. TDAC is a new fund, which might end up being one of my top 10 favorite cover call funds in the future. And down here we have TSPY. So these are kind of sister funds, this one and this one. I've had TSPY for a while. It's been performing well. Actually, I think it has performed better than the S&P 500, which is weird for a cover call fund to outperform the underlying index that it follows. I have PLTY, which I bought basically on day one that was released. And this has totally paid for itself at least once. And at this point, it's kind of like free house money, you might call it. So I'm just hanging on to this forever. And we have some Bitcoin type funds. We have WPay. And I'm not going to go through each of these, but you can see we have several curve funds. I have some curve funds. This is the Google curve fund. We have Amazon curve fund. We have Blocks, which might be the hat I'm wearing right now. Nicholas Crypto Income Fund. IQQQ, another curve fund, the Microsoft MSTY, and Apple curve fund. We have a REIT MORT fund. We have MSTY, another one that's kind of like ULTY. Everybody either hates MSTY or everybody loves it. Doesn't seem to be much middle ground. And then KQQQ is another curve fund, which kind of mimics the QQQ cover call fund. That might end up being one of my top 10 favorite funds. I haven't had this one very long. I bought a few shares just to watch it and see what happens. Some more Bitcoin things, some STK, a closed-end fund. ADX is a closed-end fund. UTG is a closed-end fund. Then we have some other crypto things in here. So now we're starting to get to a point where I have just a handful of dollars in some of these funds. So you see TQQQ and UPRO, it says 0%. Some of these I only own 1 share of stock or maybe 10 shares or less. And what I do, I have cash and then I write cash secured puts on TQQQ, sometimes UPRO, TNA, and SOXL. So that's why I don't have to own any shares of those, but I like to own 1 share so I can see what the price is doing. So I don't have to look it up every time I want to think about writing a cash secured put. I can just click on it and then click on option chain. This might sound complicated if you're not used to cover calls and cash secured puts, but I like to own 1 share of these to keep an eye on it and see what it's doing daily without going on my way to see how they're doing. So that's my percentage wise of what I have. And now let's go ahead and look at August here, see how we've been doing. Okay, these are the dividends I've received for August, and there's quite a list. There's 60 some here. And you'll see some duplicates because I own some shares in multiple accounts. I think I mentioned that already. But we have ULTY, which everybody either loves or hates. We have MSTY, QDTE, XDTE, and RDTE. So these are all from Roundhill. Own a few shares of each. I got some YMAX in a few different accounts. Interesting. Did have EIC, which I've sold off since August. It was not performing well. The NAV has been going downhill, so I decided to bail on it and put the money somewhere else. We have WDI, PDI, some more MSTY. I have consolidated MSTY a little bit, sold off some of the shares. I've also sold off some of the ULTY shares that I've had. I had a few, and then I decided to thin that out by about half. We have some more QDTE, QQT, and SPYI. I mentioned those in Blossom. They're like sister funds. Then we have some Roundhill weekly payers, MSTW, VDW, PLTW, and HOOW. For example, this is Robinhood, a weekly ETF that writes cover calls on Robinhood. And you have Palantir, NVIDIA, and MicroStrategy, or just called Strategy. And I won't go over each of these, but we have JEPI and JEPQ, so get some dividends off those. These pay monthly. Then we have newer REX shares that pay a weekly distribution. The T-SPY that I mentioned, I also have TDAC, but I think I bought TDAC after August, so that probably don't show up on here. So let's go down a little bit. I mentioned Q and JPIX. So between those, we have 4 different accounts located in multiple accounts. We have the XPay. We have some more Roundhill. Those pay weekly, so these pop up quite often. The XDTE, QDTE, RDTE. And then we have some more YieldMax and ULTY that pay weekly. And I have thinned the ULTY out, like I mentioned. Then we have some more weekly payers here. And let's just go down and look at some of the bigger ones. Here's ULTY again. Palantir paid a hefty dividend in August. We'll talk about a few that I haven't mentioned yet. We have the NEOS IYRI, which is a real estate REIT cover call fund. BTCI, which is another cover call fund. We have mentioned these two are two of my favorites, SPYI, QQQI. A little chunk of money from them. And then we have FEPI. We have money in a couple of different accounts, so we got a pretty good chunk from those. And then down here at the bottom, we have Maxi, QDevo, GIAX, and some more MSTY. So for the total dividends or distributions for the month of August is sitting at almost 11,000. So I would expect that to be about that much going forward. It might go down a little bit because I've thinned out a little bit of MSTY and ULTY. They pay higher distribution. And if you don't know much about those, you might say, why are you getting rid of those when they pay? They do pay well, but the net asset value also decreases a little bit. So the total return is still good, but decide to thin those out a little bit and put more money into SPYI, QQQI, because they hold the NAV a lot better. So anyhow, that's where we're sitting. So I'll start doing this on a weekly basis, and those videos will be shorter. At the end of the month, I'll do a monthly update, combine everything, see how things have gone for the month. So if you like seeing what I'm investing in and what I'm earning in distributions and dividends, these videos will be for you. We'll see you next week with an update for September.